Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, so glad you could join us. By the way, if you just missed our interview with Jose Canseco on the GCI Guys hotline, you could check it out. JD, why don't you give out that information on our platform, our social media platform, where we post our interviews?
Everything the Vegas Take, YouTube, SoundCloud, Twitter, Facebook. Check them out there. It'll be posted over the next probably 2 or 3 hours, and along with every single interview we ever do.
And we learned in that interview whether or not Jose Canseco believes that Tom Brady is taking steroids. We also asked him the girl that got away, one of the women that he's always wanted to sleep with that he never was able to. He answered that question for us. He asked us about the J-Lo situation with A-Rod. Allegedly, Jose Canseco saying he would take a polygraph test that his ex-wife has been sleeping with A-Rod while in a relationship with J-Lo. We talked a little bit about that.
And he does not believe that the balls were juiced or not juiced for this Major League Baseball season.
We definitely touched on a lot.
And he said he doesn't think he's a Hall of Famer, which I have to respect.
Yeah. So anyway, we touched on a lot in that interview. It was very interesting. And again, check out our social media platform. That interview will be up in just a little bit. But, so much going on besides the World Series yesterday, right? We had the opening day of the NBA season last night. And, of course, the big game on the schedule, the few games that were played last night, were the Lakers and the Clippers in L.A. Technically, it was a Clippers home game. But, it was the season opener. And the Lakers are the favorite to win the NBA championship. A lot of Lakers fans were very disgruntled about the loss last night, including Ice Cube, who said the Lakers just embarrassed Los Angeles with a half-ass effort. Other celebrities weighing in on it as well. People not happy with the performance of LeBron James down the stretch. And I figured what better person to have with us on the line than somebody that covers the Lakers, lives out there in L.A., and works for one of the biggest stations in the country, that is KNX Radio, and a former member of KDWN, by the way. Brian Ping joining us right now on the line. Brian, thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great, Brian. How are you?
What's up, Brian?
Doing good, man. Okay, so it seems like,
Mr.
Ping, it seems like there is a backlash and people are going after LeBron James, including guys like Ice Cube. So before we get to the celebrity, lashing of the LA Lakers, even though it's only one game, I want to get your thoughts. What did you think on the game last night? Obviously, Kawhi Leonard was a beast down the stretch. He willed that team to a victory. What do you make of the performance of the LA Lakers last night?
Well, I think it's just that. You mentioned Kawhi Leonard. Hey, the Clippers are good. A lot of people think that they are a contender and might win it all. So I don't think you can bash the Lakers too hard. I think there were a lot of Laker fans who really wanted their team to show up because there's a lot of pride on the line. I mean, this is the most anticipated basketball game in the city in several years. They wanted the Lakers to look up and look good on national television, and they did for a while. They just let it slip away late. I think the Lakers are, missing some of those key pieces like Kuzma. They need more playmakers. Just LeBron and Anthony Davis. I think you're going to figure that out a little further down the game. So I think that's why they didn't quite have the game plan to finish it off. But hey, give the Clippers some credit here. They're a good-looking team, even without Paul George.
I don't understand, though. I mean, it seems like there was a physical mismatch underneath, and it didn't seem like Anthony Davis and LeBron James took advantage of that. Certainly they did in the first 4 or 5 minutes, and I said, wow, looking at the first 5 minutes of the game, the Clippers didn't have a chance. And then all of a sudden it looked like the Clippers, I hate to use this term, but I'm going to use it. Based on what I saw on the floor, it appeared to me that the Clippers were working harder on the defensive end of the floor, and they were just playing harder. I know some people are going to look at that and say, oh, Brian, what are you talking about? What do you say?
You all right, Brian?
Well, that's exactly what the Clippers are trying to be. They're trying to be those junkyard dogs and the scrappers. They don't want to be the glitzy, glamorous L.A. team. They figure the Lakers have carved out that role. They want to create this new identity, especially with Kawhi in town and Paul George. And, they play that to a T. They got guys like, Montrezl Harrell down low. They're really carving out that personality. And, Kawhi Leonard said before the game, when he took the mic and, got booed, you can believe that, by the Laker fans that were there at the Clipper home game.
Which is ridiculous.
He didn't say, hey, we're gonna whip their butts. He said, we're going to work hard every game. I think that is the mantra this team is going to come in, blue collar, and they showed that last night.
You talk about Kawhi Leonard, and, I covered him in college. He came out here, obviously, playing the Rebels, playing for San Diego State. Watched him play college ball. I also watched him work out a lot here in Las Vegas. And if you wanted to ask me who was the hardest worker and the biggest gym rat in the NBA, it is none other than Kawhi Leonard. That kid works harder than anybody else. And I'm not saying LeBron and Davis and all these guys do not work hard. Obviously, they do to get to where they were. But do you think, in a sense, that the Lakers, they just expect to be there at the end of the year, and they just expect it, and maybe they were a little bit surprised with how good that the Clippers were? Do you think that there's any truth in that?
I don't think they've earned the expectation to be there at the end of the year just yet. They still have a lot of work to do. I think they can reasonably expect to be one of those contending teams. I don't think it was a matter of the Lakers not, working hard enough. I'm sure that, Frank Vogel was able to rally his troops enough to make sure to get up for this game. I just think that the pieces haven't gelled yet for the Lakers. When you think about all the pieces they had to give away to get Anthony Davis in that trade, and a lot of players missing from last season, you just got to wonder how the pieces are going to fit together, and that might take a few games to figure that out. I'm not sure if it was a matter of effort. Yeah, like you mentioned, they're getting slammed on social media. I don't think that's fair just yet. Give this a little time because it really is a new era for the Lakers.
Two questions. Did you like the Anthony Davis trade in particular? And the second one, what is wrong with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope? He goes 27 minutes, doesn't score a point. He signed a pretty decent-sized contract last year. Do you think he's just kind of working himself down the roster totem pole at this point?
Could be. It could be very much so. And the thing about the Anthony Davis trade is that, look, when you're a marquee team in the NBA who's been down on its fortunes the last several years, you got to make that deal. I know that you're giving away a lot of key young players like Lonzo Ball, et cetera. But you've got to have at least that big two, if not that big three in today's NBA to really be a contender. I applaud the move. They were able to pull that off. And, my goodness, they almost got Kawhi Leonard, too, to form that super team. But I think it's going to work out really well. I think Davis was so good to the point that he was by far the best Laker and was attracting some double teams. And so that's why I mentioned earlier the Lakers are going to need to step it up as far as some of those role players before they really are a contender. And, hey, there's still 81 games left to go. A lot of time for that to happen.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Magic Johnson for a second. We all know what took place last year with him stepping down. A lot of people were very unhappy with the way he did it with Jeannie Buss. With that being said, listen, Magic Johnson is probably going to go down he is going to go down one of the best players to ever play the game, arguably the best guard to ever play the game. But I never considered Magic Johnson, and this is just me personally and based on people that know him that I've spoken to, I just don't consider him an extremely intelligent person. And again, he seems to be a good businessman. But anyway, with that being said, let's go to his comments after the game on social media. He says, Laker Nation, the Lakers' fourth quarter offense was stagnant and there was too much standing around. He said in the Clippers' victory over the Lakers, the X factor was the Clippers' bench, and he's right. They outscored the Lakers 60-19. Lou Williams was absolutely fantastic. I don't always agree with Magic Johnson. Like I said, I don't think he's the brightest guy in the world. Obviously, he knows his basketball. I tend to agree with him here. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I think he's spot on. And to your earlier point, he just wasn't cut out for an official high-ranking role there, and it got him into trouble with the accusations of tampering and the loose lips there. But he is definitely a person that a lot of people still listen to. He's kind of that ceremonial head of the Laker franchise. And his observations. I mean, he still has that great basketball acumen. We saw it all those years on the floor, and I definitely made some cogent points there. And on the bench, I don't think the Lakers had any answer when they gave up 60 points, but that's the Clippers' big strength there. And how about Lou Williams? I mean, he just had a great start to his year.
Yeah, I think the Clippers they're just a scrappier team, and Patrick Patterson actually played a really pretty good game himself, and he's a 3-point threat, which I don't think the Lakers expected. Speaking of shooting, the Lakers hired a shooting coach named Lethal Shooter, who's a pretty renowned shooting coach over the offseason. Have you seen or do you expect a lot of progress on the 3-point ball since his hiring?
Yeah, I have to look into that a little more as far as how that is going to go, because when you have a couple of established players, it goes back to that whole gelling together, and they're really going to need some expertise in order to make sure that it all comes together. And like I said, it's a long season. We'll see how that pans out.
Mm-hmm. So I got to go outside the box here a little bit. If you're just joining us, Brian Ping, KNX Radio out there in L.A., actually used to work with him here at KDWN in Las Vegas. So, Brian, how far do you live from Beverly Hills?
Oh, gosh, I live in Long Beach, which if you ask a Los Angeles local says, well, hopefully the overnight stay on the way there wasn't too bad. But I'm within a close enough orbit. I work pretty close there in near Hollywood, mid-city LA, mid-Wilshire area. So pretty close to that orbit there.
So what do you make of this situation where, and forgive me, I'm forgetting her name, her father being a very famous comedian.
You're talking about Lori Harvey.
Yeah, Lori Harvey, flipping over her car in Beverly Hills and hitting a parked vehicle And, she's taking pictures right before this accident of her Gucci bag and everything. She calls herself a model, social media mogul, whatever you want to call her. She tries to leave the scene of a crash. And I'm saying to myself, Brian, and listen, you're a good person to ask this question because you lived in Vegas for a while. If it was you or me that did that got into a crash and then tried to leave the scene of an accident, do you think a police officer would just say, here you go, here's a ticket, have a nice day, go ahead and take your car home, have a great day? No, I don't think that would happen. I mean, is there an outrage with people in L.A.? Because I know there's a lot of people that are upset throughout the country the way they treated her. A lot of people felt like she should have gone to jail for the night.
Yeah, it just kind of goes to show, but she's one of a lot. I got to tell you, here in Southern California, especially there in Beverly Hills, and that celebrity world, that I guess justice kind of works a little bit differently depending on who you are. But yeah, I hate to say it, but this happens a little more often than not, and I can see the outrage though.
I mean, you've lived out there for a while now. Have you had any weird situations where I shouldn't say weird, but a lot of famous people living out there. Any situations where you've run into somebody and been a little bit of starstruck? I know you've been in the media for a long time, but I would imagine living there for a while, you run into people that you recognize on a regular basis. Do you not?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of John Hamm. We happen to go to the same University of Missouri, so we've got a couple of watch parties together.
I love John Hamm.
The team was actually halfway decent. And complaining about the referee's calls and all that. So mostly in Long Beach, you're a little bit away from that. I kind of like that. I'm not whole into the celebrity getting starstruck. I think it's cool when I run across somebody like that, but I kind of get to have it both ways. When you work a little bit closer to Hollywood, you're in part of that, but I get to kind of retreat back to my family, back in the suburbs. I get a nice kind of mix of both.
So now that Kawhi Leonard is back, because he's from LA, and now that he's back with the Clippers, and Los Angeles is now just this major basketball town, and it really hasn't been for quite some time. It's kind of been Oakland because of the Golden State Warriors, and now San Francisco, obviously. Sure. Can you feel the energy in the air? The different the different fan bases kind of battling it out.
Absolutely, and you could see that on full display last night. It's still a Laker town by far. Try as the Clippers might, they have a considerably large fan base, but they just get drowned out because the Lakers are like, kind of the Dallas Cowboys or New York Yankees of the NBA. I mean, they're sort of that national team, and they have that cachet. And the Clippers, let's face it, they haven't, made their bones yet. They don't have their title. That could very well come over the next couple of years, but they're going up against this big legacy franchise. And there is a big fight for the heart and soul of the city. And I think getting those two hometown guys in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, that was a major coup for this franchise, and I think it's something that needed to happen when you think about the long-term viability on what Steve Ballmer going to do. Is he going to build that new arena, or was there ever murmurs that he was going to move them back to his hometown of Seattle? The Clippers absolutely needed to have this offseason, and now that it actually happened for them, it's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out.
All right, Brian, final question for you, and it's a loaded one, I guess. Who wins more games during the regular season this year, the Lakers or the Clippers, and who goes further in the playoffs and has a better all-around year?
I'm going to go with the Clippers because I think there's just going to be a little bit more consistency there. You got to see if LeBron's health is going to hold up. We saw the Clippers without Paul George, and they did just fine, and they've got all that bench and that depth that could really get them through a good, long postseason run. I think it's the Clippers this year, but going beyond that, I think this is going to be great rivalry, and we could see many conference finals between these two teams over the next decade.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Congratulations on your success over there at KNX Radio. We appreciate your time, and we'll love to revisit this with you down the road this year.
And congrats on the success of your show, Brian. I'd love to hear that how well it's doing, and both you guys. So keep up the great work.
Appreciate that, Mr. Ping. Thank you for your time, my man.
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks a lot, Brian.
All right, there you go. Brian Ping, KNX Radio, out there in L.A., a former employee that I worked with here at KDWN. Great guy, does a really good job. And as you can tell, too, he's got a pretty good set of pipes. He's got a good radio voice. That's why he's a great news anchor. You have to have a good radio voice to do it. Yeah. KNX News Time is 2:02.
No, he has a national level radio voice.
Oh, he does.
He could do Dateline. He could do 60 Minutes.
He's very good.
Whatever he wants.
Well, that's TV. I don't know if he wants to do
it
TV.
doesn't make a difference. He can still, with that voice, he can definitely do it.
It does make a difference. There's some. I'm not saying Brian's like this, but there are some hideous people that have great voices. Brian's a good-looking guy, but you understand what I'm saying. I don't care how good your voice is. If you're hideous looking, they're not going to hire you on TV.
Is he related to the Ping family?
Golf, you mean?
Yes.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think there's any truth there. No, but I used to work briefly when I was starting my career here in Vegas, I worked for a station, KNPR, public radio. And the way they do newscasts, it's like this. It's like, KNPR News Time is 102. You're listening to KNPR Radio. Coming up next, the time is 102. The temperature is 88 degrees. And then I used to, I'm serious, by the way. That's what they want you to do, which is fine.
It's very floaty.
Yeah. But here at KDWN, you could be a little bit more natural. KDWN News Time is 12:05. I'm Brian Shapiro. Coming up next, we're going to talk about race relations in society. I mean, that's the
and that's what we talk about every day now.
Of course.
We just keep no more Trump. It's just race relations.
No, that's not true.
No Trump.
We are
only race relations and the N-word.
Listen,
that's
it's
all
not,
we want to talk about now.
It's not
nothing else.
It's not that we're not talking about Trump. It's that we're waiting for the next big news story.
And we're
happen.
trying to get someone fired for anything, because if you offend someone else, you can't have a job.
That's completely
under any circumstances.
I don't know why you would say that. That's completely not my position, and that's completely not true. So I don't know why you would say that. But listen, there's a lot of stuff going on with Donald Trump in the news, but there's not a lot of new stuff, right? We're still waiting to see about this impeachment inquiry. What's the next step for Donald Trump? We're trying to figure out, is there a second whistleblower coming forward? I can tell you right now, every day that passes, it's not getting better for Donald Trump. It's not getting better. I would make the argument that it's getting worse. All right, why don't we take a quick break? We'll be back right after this, and we'll give you a quick update on all the national stories breaking this morning. You're listening to The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.